ASL Season 2, Premier League, Round of 16.
It looks like we're finally able to bring you this game because no one lagged out this time. The culprit, the miscreant himself, spawning in the top right in teal from Team Triple T. It's our Zerg player,
Vandy.
And his opponent from the same geographical region is going to be our yellow Terran player from Team Ascension. It is
Armadon.
I so nearly said his name.
Yeah, I know.
So
it's hard not
it.
to. It's hard not to. People in chat all discussing the different types of Canadian internet. They're naming some different companies, but those companies actually are just Rogers under different names. TechSavvy is Rogers, and they just sell their internet off to a sub company and then pretend to be a different company, but they're the same.
It's fake competition. It's
Yeah,
people are
it
like,
is
oh,
fake
we're getting a bit
competition.
cheaper with it. I'm using the names I've read in the chat. We're getting a bit cheaper with Bell. Let's go with Bell. And Rogers would be sat there going, yes, go with Bell.
It's same thing. The thing is, we get good speeds. I have 250 MBS down and 20 up, but it's not the speed that's a problem. It's the stability. There's just all these blips. It just knocks you off.
Yeah.
And it comes back in like 10 seconds, but it's still enough to kick you out of a game or something like that. Yeah.
I have 60 down and 10 60 down, 10 up, but it's dead stable, so it's all fine. And I can't find a way to segue stability into this game, but I will. Okay. Here's my go.
There's got to be a way.
It does look like we're stabilizing into the early mid game as Armadorn begins to produce a Reaper, as is a very standard opening, actually putting down a bunker on the low ground to attempt to harass the natural as the first Reaper gets across the map. And because of the short rush distance on merry-go-round, this Reaper's there a little bit earlier than I think Vandy was ready for.
Yeah, I think so. There are two Lings out. He does kill off the SEV, and two Lings are going to kind of chase this Reaper around. He gets to actually cancel his Swine Crawler, so doesn't have to have that go up. And really just the one Ling kill so far for this Reaper. And the bunker's canceled, and he'll back up. It's got two of them there. So, yeah, the Zerg player stabilizes. So that's the thing.
There we go.
Yeah.
We've got this. Armadorn actually going for a very greedy play, going for that barracks into the two Reaper pressure, as is very normal, but following it up with factory command center, just I think, but they went to factory and the command center went down at about the same time. So this is quite a tech-heavy play, and we have seen this one out of Armadorn before. It's one of his go-to versus Zerg builds, but there are a limited number of builds that a Terran can go for anyway, simply because of the way they tech up. So it's not too unusual, and really it's more of a question of what we see done with this factory.
That's really the key. I don't know if you got to catch any of the games actually last night in the Challenger League, but one of our Terran players... Yeah, probably. One of our Terrans, ACR Aaron, did this exact same build in the exact same way, like 7 games in a row. But the difference was not actually making good use of the units, and it's all about what you can do with the Reapers, what you can do with these initial Hellions. And if they don't get either direct damage done, or if they're not at least able to delay a lot of creep and push it back and take map control and so on, then it could be a really big waste. But if it gets a lot done, then you're good, and you've allowed enough padding to actually get this third CZ up and really establish your economy.
Armadorn's actually done a really kind of... Well, it's a very standard opening, but so far has done some good damage with the Reapers, but has to keep it up, has to make sure that these Hellions are able to capitalize on the lead he's already gained, and needs to get those across the map. It's very common to see them move out with the 4th or the 6th Hellion, so it could be either one of those, and Vandy actually won't be able to see that, because there are no Overlords on the map, short of this one that's just in front of the natural, to grant the vision of the initial move out.
And he also has interesting building placement here. There is the Overlord for Vandy sitting right above the starport that's building Cloak Banshees.
Yes, I like that. That was flown over about the right time, about 6 minutes. And Vandy, of course, sees everything, knows exactly what he's up against. There are spore crawlers in the mineral lines already, so the detection shouldn't be any kind of issue. And Vandy's actually going for 1-1 and a Roach Warren. We've seen this before too. This is quite standard, but it's whether Vandy decides to go for an attack or a third base at this point. With a Spire coming down, I think we have to see a third if we want a Zerg to go into the late game.
Yeah, I think so as well. Given that he knows what his opponent's doing, he's reasonably... I mean, he's very well defended against it. Roaches for Hellions and the Spore Crawlers for the Banshee. He should just kind of say, I can take economy and I don't have to be worried right now.
Great creep denial coming out of Armador, getting out there, catching
this is important.
Oh, very, very good. Getting a lot of active tumors as well. These queens are going to be able to replace them, just dropping it down on the creep spread, but even so, it's the fact that that energy isn't going to be there for transfuses or for just a greater increased rate of creep advance. Keeping it suppressed is as important as actually denying it in the first place. Oh, good scan.
Armadon is, well. Armadon is actually moving just back home, which is interesting. Given the investment made into the Banshees, he is not actually bringing them in or attacking with them. It looks like he's just kind of adding them to his main force and not bothering to poke in and try and get damage done.
You can do some very, very strong pushes with Hellion, Banshee, and a few Reapers if you don't lose anything as you move into the kind of the mid game, as you try and actually take your third base, as we do see Armadorn is doing now. But that army is at home; it's not out on the map. Needs to keep it out there and working rather than sat at home, because that's safe, but it's not effective. Yeah,
exactly. It's a very defensive posture. He does land his third base down. Those guys aren't actually mining yet. There they go. But there's already a reasonable number of Mutalisks out on the map, and Banshee's not great against Mutalisks themselves. But
not at all.
Yeah, there's a decent number of Marines and so on out there, and there's a turret up, or two turrets up in the natural, but actually nothing really defending the main base there.
No, and Armadorn did attempt to put on a brief attack just a moment ago. Banshee went into the main and was taken out by a queen and a spore crawler because of a bit of miscontrol, and a Hellion run by was in the natural too, and that too was taken out by this queen heavy force just running around defending, meaning that Vandy doesn't have to really make that many units at this point. Can just defend with the incredibly cheap, incredibly cost effective and tanky queens.
Yeah, the Mute is swinging in just as these turrets all complete there, and 5 of them basically going down at the same time, and did finish up before he was able to poke in.
Not what you want to be doing with a Mutalisk. You really don't want to be sacrificing those.
Yeah, Vandy has just completed his Baneling Nest and going quickly for Baneling speed. He's got +1 melee attack and +2 carapace, both on the way, as well as the flyer upgrades. Yeah.
There are barely any upgrades for Armadorn.
Yeah, no, he doesn't really have them out yet. He does, however, already have a Thor on the map. He's got a 4th command center already out, and his kind of tech path and economy are a little more developed. But yeah, you're right, he's really got none.
He's meching. Yep. He's getting himself those big power units, having made his initial opening, that being the big Hellion attack, that being the Banshees and a few Marines to support. These Hellions are actually just going to attempt to outrun.
They're just going to run away.
Just go,
run away from the Mutalisks.
We out of here. But yeah, going mech is a pretty strong choice. Armadorn, I know Armadorn can use this to really, really great effect because I've seen him do it in previous games. He's a very, very good mech player, and actually manages to make the games fairly interesting with some good pushes rather than just kind of going for the slightly more turtly mech that certain players on ladder have popularized of late.
Yeah, yeah, that guy. People,
I have no idea who you're talking about.
No, definitely not. So yeah, this other little group of Hellions trying to swing in and take a poke to this fourth base, but they're just going to get completely surrounded here, trapped and taken out. But at least he sees that the hatchery is going down and what time that is occurring. Vandy has completed, oh, this is interesting, he's completed his infestation pit, which I thought might have been just for a fast hive, but he's actually going for the locust upgrade. So it looks like he will be moving into swarm host tech as a counter to mech, which again,
I take it back.
Same guy.
I take it back.
Yeah.
Oh no. And I wanted to be in bed by 10 a.m.
It happens.
Which is when the second series will start. Yeah. No, God, that's not funny. I've now made myself a bit sad. But yeah, Swarmhost versus Mech can have some very interesting dynamics. Actually, it's possible to play out with perhaps perfect or grandmaster or extremely high level control. You can get these incredibly long drawn out games where neither player wants to make a move and they'll end up dancing the dance against each other, and everyone goes back and forth, and it's all very fancy and delicate. And then outside of Grandmaster League, in a fairly real sense, you end up with one person making a very slight but noticeable mistake, and then the other person wins immediately.
That's exactly the case. It's you just don't see those 2 and 3 hour long games.
It's so rare. You do see them in Bronze League, however.
Yes, but that's just people AFKing for dinner and stuff like that. Like, hang on, my mom's yelling at me. I'll be right back. And then they just set the locust fighting. One Raver kind of poking in here. That's going to give him some ability. Obviously, just a single Raven won't let you clear up a lot of creep. It looks like the Zerg is going to move into the third base here and just try and go after a lot of SCVs. But nice Baneling connections on the front, and these roaches actually just going directly against SCVs, which is kind of interesting. I think he realizes that composition wasn't going to help too much, and he'll just
it's absolutely
clear
perfect. A perfect way to throw them away, because throwing them into that mineral line, the siege tanks are splashing on the SCVs, and because during that attack 16 SCVs, a whole mineral line of SCVs were taken out for an army that Vandy didn't really want.
Yeah, exactly. That was a useless army to have roaches against this sort of thing. And you can use them that way. And now he's making 8 more swarm hosts behind this. He is maxed, so he did need that room. And now the locusts are coming in, and Aradon is like, oh my lord, clear my schedule.
88 might be a few too many drones for Vandy, but that's really the only criticism I can find in his play at this point. What he's done, his decision making has been almost totally correct. His, in my opinion, I have to say, but so far nothing bad has happened because of it.
He catches these unbird for a little bit, but
this could be the risk though. This could be it. Yeah, there we go.
He will evacuate behind the locust, but move it a little back onto firmer creep.
They're gonna burrow, and
he's trying to get static defense up.
This is that moment. This is effectively a mech timing attack where we see the big tank force push out and attempt to kill the swarm hosts before they get to be too serious of a problem. But if it all goes wrong, if all these tanks are taken out, Vandy's just going to be able to walk it.
Yeah, it is really hard to deal with this. More mutas are coming out. And there's not really that many Thors or anti-air. I mean, Thors are good, but with the locusts there as well, they're just getting taken down here, and this mech force is being whittled away by free units. And
in the first wave, the Hellions went down. In the second wave, the tanks started going down. Now there are so few of those left, and the reinforcements are not coming in as fast as the locusts. Nice use of PDDs, I have to say. Great idea to help deny that locust damage, but it's all free for free. A Thor goes down to Mutalisks.
And the magic box there, and now that the Thor is down, the Mutalisks, nothing can really stop them after this last one. And the nice mule drop to try and repair these units, I believe.
But the Thor does fall,
delaying
the inevitable.
Yeah.
I mean,
and does have to unsiege and tries to get out of here.
Bail. Needs a recall.
So many swarm hosts. 20 swarm hosts moving a little more towards that third base.
Yeah. And behind all of this, Vandy has a huge bank. Vandy's maxed out with a 3k bank, only 6k gas. it must be said, not mining gases on one of the bases that has got assimilators, gases, extractors, that's what they called, for a little while. And that helium runway has actually found the 6th, but it is a 6th. It is a 6th base for a Zerg when our Terran player is really not even able to establish a 4th by now.
Yeah, very true. And if anything here, as some of these drones die, it's going to correct that 80+ drone problem that you're referring to. And
not for long.
Yeah, he's just going to let him, do it. The store was in totally the wrong place there. And it's completely taken out.
Just needs to saturate up to 80 drones, and then you see this perfect army for Vandy. He's got 3/3 upgrades, getting the melee to follow it up as well, presumably for an Ultralisk transition should that be necessary. And the thing about swarm hosts is they buy that time to make it acceptable. Your opponent spends so much time fighting to get through the swarm hosts that you've got enough to make mass ultra at the end of it all. Mutes are going to drift in towards the 3rd base now.
Yeah.
Actually, having to fight those Vikings might not be the best engagement for those guys there.
No, probably not there. Vikings are pretty good at having the range advantage on this. He's going to try and get this command center pushed up to this other base, and it actually is a hard one for the Locusts to really get at. So if he can get defense established against Mutas, there it might be a good spot to try and move out to. 2 swarm hosts just walking forward. Actually, 7 of them walking forward and just dying.
Is he trading out swarm hosts?
I'm not sure if that was on purpose.
I'm forced to assume that wasn't on purpose.
That was intentional? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think that can have been intentional. But it doesn't really matter because Vandy has 1,000 banked gas. These Mutalisks flying in and actually being picked off by a huge Viking squadron. And Armadorn could be transitioning towards Sky Terran. Not a full transition yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah, he's going to build that Viking count up. He obviously hasn't really lost any of the few Ravens that he does have, and it's getting a number of Thors back up. So it's going to be harder and harder for these Mutalisks to actually really do anything about it. And Vandy might have to consider getting a lot more Corruptors in play or something to kind of go against it. Potentially Infestors is another way to try and grab that air. But if the Raven count gets really high, that can be really obnoxious.
Raven Battlecruiser is a terrifying army composition. There really isn't that much in the game that can counter it to a very great extent, just because it has an answer to pretty much everything. And Armadorn isn't going for the Battlecruisers just yet.
No.
But I think it could only be a matter of time, and I'd like to see that. It's a really fun composition. Floating command center for Armadorn. Interesting tactic there. I noticed it earlier, but I didn't say anything at the time because I assumed it was just in transit. But it's been there for a while now, just hanging out in the main base. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he definitely knows there's no other real place for it to go at the moment. He can't move beyond that position. These Hellions come in and clean out the 4th base for the Zerg, but there's just so many bases for him at the moment. Merry-Go-Round's an interesting map for this because you're not just in a situation where you cut the map in half or something. The Zerg is going to be able to take the 2 corners of the map, and the Terran's going to be in 1.
Sorry, I'm attempting to fix my webcam suddenly. it's having a moment.
Mutalisks just continually getting chewed up here, but Locust getting in close enough to take out all those Thors as they wander a little farther in.
Fantastic.
Nice detonations from the Ravens on the Swarm House.
Those are good, but with a good spread, with Vandy reborrowing, I mean, where did those queens go? The queens, the many queens that we've seen earlier, because you could get those down and get a bit of support in for those. And Corruptors, as you said, coming in. Corruptors don't really die, but they don't kill that much either a lot of the time.
Yeah,
I wouldn't rate them against that many Vikings. How many Vikings we got there? 15 Vikings versus 6 Corruptors as it stands.
That's that's always the thing with Corruptors is they're not good. They're not good against anything, but they're your only option, kind of. It's the only reliable anti-Zerg, like Zerg anti-air,
The best use I've ever seen for a Corruptor was when someone hit a Corruptor timing attack with like Roaches and Corruptors. Flew in, sniped all the Colossi, and then did a follow-up attack with Roach Hydra and just won.
Yeah.
It was quite special.
Yeah,
Fusion
definitely.
Core, yes.
Oh, yay. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
going to be good, but I hope so. I think that's cool.
It'll be interesting regardless. And the 3/3 air/mech is on the way for our Terran players. So this is just going to be really, really heavy duty stuff. And when it comes to Ravens and capital ships and stuff from Terran, Zerg can have all the money in the world, and it's very hard to do anything about it.
Yeah, you just end up throwing that money into your opponent again and again and again. And even now, if we look at the units lost, we're seeing that Vandy's at a deficit. Now, Vandy can afford to be at that deficit.
Yeah.
Because he's got 7 or 8 bases. But at the same time, those will run out eventually. And this Terran army might not be dead by then.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you're doing this sort of thing, you almost have to keep Terran to a maximum of the 3 bases. If Terran's on 4, potentially 5 bases, they'll never run out of money. There's not enough minerals on the map to take out their army, and we'll see if Armadon can hit that point. And there's a ton of Ravens out now. We're back up to 8 Ravens on the map. There are 15 Vikings on the map. This is going to be so hard to approach, and he's just lining his bases with missile turrets, which are at just minerals. They're virtually free.
Yep, but not literally free, like these locusts. They're going to keep just going to keep pumping towards the tanks. Now the tanks aren't being damaged. There just aren't enough locusts to actually do anything at this point to the Terran forces, and this is why these games can go on for so long, because the tanks can't be killed. They have the damage output to just deal with this.
Yeah,
But
nice strong Hellion run by here
push.
to the 4th base. We'll be killing off a lot of the remaining drones, but the Mutas swinging by to get them. But with 3/3 on the Hellions plus Blue Flame, they live a lot longer than a Hellion is ever supposed to live. And
25 damage versus light, so they're actually still only 2-shotting drones.
Yeah.
Queens though.
Yes, Queens go down quicker. They could probably start killing hatcheries at some point if the Mutas stop
I
chasing
actually thought
them.
that was what was going to happen. If those Mutalisks hadn't been there, I think.
Yeah,
we
then
could
I
have
think
seen
they
them
could
dead.
have just done it. Yeah.
Especially if they'd gone Hellbat.
Yeah, he obviously wants the mobility at this point, but these could turn Hellbat at any point, and then they're just really obnoxious. Nice Hunter-Seeker missiles going off on some of the swarm hosts, trying to clear them out. PDD's down, just absorbing a shot from a Spore Crawler over and over.
It's just gonna. At some point, someone is going to make a move, but at this point, they're building up their ultimate armies, so that each player, when they choose to make their move, feels totally confident in it. I think that a weakness in Armadorn could arise if and when we see the decision out of him to go for a heavier Sky Terran transition. If we see him start trying to trade away the tanks, it leaves an opening for our Zerg player.
Yeah, that's very true. It's right now that's enough tanks to prevent the Locusts from advancing in any way.
Only just though.
Yeah, exactly. And he can't trade off many more. He couldn't lose many of them.
I saw some get to the tanks there. I saw the tanks take some hits. He is at the limit of the tank ability. Oh,
Viper's trying to pull in individual Ravens.
Yeah.
He can, of course, try and do that to the BCs.
He can. They would go down pretty well, but this is why Raven Battlecruiser is so strong, because what we see here, we see the PDDs protecting the Battlecruisers as they snipe out the Zerg elite units.
Yeah, definitely. You can just fire the Zumata cannons at a nice safe distance. There's not enough spores actually down here to really hurt them, and the PDDs do absorb the spore shots, which is annoying for Zerg, obviously. And he will get one Battlecruiser down, but it takes a lot more losses, so many more losses compared to what he killed.
They're both dancing back and forth as best as they can. These Sky Terran forces looking potent for a moment there, but having to pull back a little. As soon as each new wave of Zerg reinforcements comes in, the tanks can't advance because of the locusts. It's so difficult to advance into this, and that's why these Hellion Rumboys have been trying to do the work. But at the end of all of it, Vandy has lost nearly 9,000 more resources than his opponent, and eventually that deficit is going to start to show.
Oh, it definitely will, although it's very important to point out that the Terran is almost mined out all 4 bases. He has to actually get somewhere else and establish it, and there's only 2 bases on the entire map that Zerg is not already in.
Indeed.
And in order to get to that situation, they're both off to the side, so you're going to have to either give up your production facilities and leave them open, or something. You're going to have to move them potentially, but he has to leave this central position if he wants another base.
Ooh, this is intimidating. This force fighting with using the high ground to its advantage, but the Spore Crawlers doing stalwart work, chasing away the Vikings, making it so the battle cruisers can't advance forward in the small numbers that they're currently in. A lot of Corruptors going down there, getting a free Viking though, which is, always nice, accepting donations. But Vandy, with the swarm hosts, is just pushing and pushing and pushing.
Yeah, very, very true. The gas is going to start really, really hurting Armadon here. It's common for the minerals to be mined out, but 3 bases of gas are mined out. So he's trying to do this on 1 base gas. This, is breaking through everything. Tanks will start to fall now that they are this close. He's getting a few swarm hosts though. For sure.
That's the thing. That's the thing. With that push, he needs to scan. Where's the scan? If we see, yes, here it comes. That scan going down. The siege tanks are going to be firing on swarm hosts, and with the PDDs, this might be the push that Armador's been looking for. The last-ditch attempt to break through the Zerg. He's done it. Vandy's pulling back.
Yeah, he does have to pull back, and it's amazing to think that on literally, what do we have, 9 base, the Zerg doesn't have minerals.
No. It's all been spent.
It's spent. He's got a good gas bank, whereas obviously his Terran opponent the exact opposite right now.
Yeah.
And he will float that CC that's been floating in location for the past while will be moving out to try and establish a 5th. There are a burrowed roach there, just sitting around.
Yeah. It's a very difficult situation to be in. Armadon desperately needs that gas. Vandy kind of needs both. Vandy really wants a bit more than he's got going on, and I think that this Corruptor into Broodlord Remax might not have been the correct decision. No. Broodlords could deal with the tanks, but only if the Vikings don't all one-shot them, and they probably will.
Yeah, the Terran army is now moving strongly through the center here. Hunter Seekers going off on these Corruptors, taking out a good number of them. The Broodlords here should be cancelled. They are just cancelled in the air.
So
trying
many
to do something.
Vikings.
Oh, Vandy will actually tap out. I don't think he should have. So
nice.
So manner, so good. Which is
Yeah.
Neat.
It's good to see. Let's give him some high grade introductions then. Spawning towards the bottom right in red from Team Triple T and down 1 game in this best of 3 series. Just 1 loss away from the losers bracket. It's our Zerg player,
Vandy.
I like that. That was like the least optimistic way to put it.
No.
He's 1 loss away from the losers bracket.
Yeah, but I was hoping you could take it back and do the flip side now.
Okay. And up here on the top left-hand side of the map, we have our yellow Terran, who is 1 win away from pushing Vandy into the losers bracket. It is from Team Ascension.
Armadon.
Excellent.
I meant you could go like, he's just 1 away from the winners bracket, and I could go, yay, in the background.
I know what you meant.
Such troll. Vandy actually going hatch first.
Yes.
Again, Vandy always goes hatch first, I think.
Yeah, I think he does tend to, and I have no problem with that. I think it's fine. I almost don't, unless you're planning to be I don't know, aggressive. I almost never understand why Zergs don't go hatch first. I think
There are
safe.
some risks.
Yeah.
I mean, if your opponent is going for a 2-racks play, then it can
you don't
be.
Yeah. Then you don't want to.
You don't want to be getting hatched first if they're going 2-racks. But other than that, it is a pretty good opening. So on any map that isn't a 2-spawn, it's almost always a good plan. And on maps that are, it's a gamble. Having seen the way Armadorn plays, I think he's not really that big on his cheese. And it's more than likely that Vandy knows that, having done his research. So he's going to be clued in and knows which builds are a good idea to go for.
Yeah, that's true. And on this map, it's a 2-spawn, but I always consider this a pseudo 2-spawn because it's the same size as the 4-player map that it used to be. And so it's a cross-position 4-player map, but without the other 2 spawns. So they know where you are, but it actually is still a pretty big distance. So, so a 2-racks on this map is not as good because you lose a lot more time. You have to send them out a lot earlier and whatever to make it work.
It's a stretch to walk all the way over.
Yeah, totally. 2 Reapers are out and poking around. 2 Queens did move down to the natural, so they'll just run up to the top and start annoying these Lings.
Just the standard 2 Reapers. The most common opening, really. With the hatch first, the Queen is quite late.
It's... Well, I mean, this is the 3rd and 4th Queen. Because the 2 are below, but yeah, exactly.
Wasn't quite right.
Yeah, he moved it down just before the Reapers came in, so he sent his first Queen down and then get a second one for the main, because otherwise that would have been very late. Yeah.
I think it was
Reapers will pop back in. Oh, they can catch this. Didn't get the drone.
No,
didn't
not quite.
Get the drone. No,
now
they
being
leave.
intercepted by the Queens.
Yeah, they leave 2 of them very injured, but not harmed.
Lovely catch once again out of our Zerg player, who's been really on point with his defenses. Just all the way through. Trying to catch the Reapers off guard. That's quite nice.
Does do pretty good. Takes one of them down too. Really good play to take him off, because we know it will be the Hellion follow-up here as well as he switches out to the reactor, and losing those 2 Reapers makes the Hellions much weaker in terms of what they can do, poking at Queens, poking at Lings, and so on.
Yeah, it's a different kind of DPS that makes up for the Hellions' lack, and it reinforces the area the Hellions are weak. And so having seen that the Reapers have gone down to his just a few lanes, Vandy's actually taking much faster 3rd base than we've seen him take in previous games. He normally waits until quite a lot later.
Yeah,
this is a good reaction. This is a smart call.
Yeah, it just immediately tells him, like, I don't have to worry about that being nearly as strong as it was, so I can do this. And he's continuing to aggressively spread creep here with 3 Queens, and going up to layer tech as well. 2 Hellions will cross the map, but of course 3 Queens are sitting there on the edge of the creep.
They are.
Yeah.
They're ready to intercept, and have done perfectly. Not in this game, Armadorn really not seeing the opportunity to pick away at the creep to quite such an extent as we have seen in previous games. And it's kind of because of the shape of the map as well. Yeah. Just because you get so many tumors down in the space between your natural and your 3rd compared to some others, that you can actually defend a fairly wide area using this sort of choke point with the Queens.
Yeah, that really is true. It also it's a really good branch to make it really dense on your creep tumors, and then you can quickly spread in 2 different directions to your 3rd and right up the center, and you're spreading and connecting and doing everything all at once in a way that really works out well.
Something I often used to see Idra do back in the day was he would have lots of active tumors towards the back as well, and having the tumors towards the back means that if you do lose your active ones towards the front, you can quickly reinforce and fill up the spaces that were missed. And Vandy, if we look, does have 1 active tumor towards the back, but could be plonking down a couple in this downtime perhaps that he has, whilst instead of just necessarily reinforcing all of them to the front. It's just one of those things that has always really impressed me about Idra's play. And he had his ups and downs. Hellion's actually been taken out in the middle of the map there by some speeders.
Yeah, just caught a little unaware, not dissimilar to how the Reapers were. If there's one place to put a creep tumor down. He still hasn't actually connected his main to the natural, but it's a very small gap. Thanks to some of the other tumors. A drop will be coming in, and it's actually loaded with 4 Widow Mines. There is no detection currently available in the
There's a gap!
natural.
Oh!
Yeah.
Nice Widow hit there, but not enough. Going on the SCVs as well, not going to kill that many.
Yeah,
Nice.
2 did die, but that's about it. This drop will come down into the natural, which doesn't have a spore. The main does, but this does not. He will burrow the Widow Mines. Oh, and these drones are clumped up. Oh, nice
Losing
big hits on that. Actually losing 5. That's not as bad as it could have been there. And he will now try and clean up the Widow Mines.
One of them was absorbed really nicely on a queen with good splits and good control. It is forcing lava out of Vandy to be spent on making drones when he wants to be making the Mutalisks that he actually is in fact making. But the trade-off there is that he has basically been allowed to get to 10 minutes without being handicapped by any real harassment before this point. He's mostly made drones before 10 minutes, and that's exactly where you want to be. That's why he's on 60 workers at this time of the game. He's feeling pretty good as he moves into the real mid-game of the ZVT. And it looks like we're going to see bio out of Armadorn as well, rather than the mech of the previous. No, wait, what am I talking about? There's a bunch of factories.
Yeah, there are 4 out right now, and he is getting some Vikings as well. But a big difference so far, a 3rd base has not been planted down, whereas it was put down a lot faster in the previous game. And these Mutalisks are going to look for an area to attack, but there's a lot of turrets
Once
around
again,
here.
just hurling himself into those.
Yeah.
Only losing 1.
Not
Hellions
too bad.
desperately trying to escape here. The speedlings are a little bit quicker, and once they get onto the creep, oh, the Dukes!
Quick, everybody run onto creep. We'll be safe there. No, that's not how that works.
Oh, Hellions!
Yeah.
That is a decision that they regretted for their short.
Some of them did juke back out and will escape back to the natural, but it is true that the 3rd base has to come down. There's a fairly large supply block here for a Terran player. He actually has to drop the supply, the extra supply call down, and he's done that at least 2 or 3 times in this game. I see 2 of them at least out, which you don't always want to be doing, obviously.
It was definitely used in the previous game as well.
Yeah, yes, for sure.
I mean, it's nice to have that option, but at the same time, that's a mule that isn't being used. When you're
it's
going
an option,
mech,
but it's
that's okay.
not the plan. Yeah.
It's better, I guess, than when you're going bio, which of course he is doing. But he's not using the energy to its maximum effectiveness at this point.
Yeah.
Also, no 3rd. Kind of makes it a little bit of a limiting factor.
That's the really hard part here right now. And I mean, you can look at the worker count and be like, okay, well, there's 72 SCVs. Well, that's all good. That's all well and good. Okay, he's got to get these before they can get the turrets actually up. And but the Vikings will come and try and push back these mutas. But 4 did go down just in that brief period of time. That's not the best place to morph banelings in the world, but
no,
it
but
might
the
work.
roaches swooping in actually did some good damage.
Yeah,
the
they
thing
did.
I was actually owing at, though, even though during... I'll talk about it after the engagement. The roaches are going to just sweep in, attempt to clean up as much of the Terran ground force as possible. Actually, banelings driving some Hellions back, but actually some good connections picking up a few there. But the tanks are going to clean up the remainder.
The command center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Command center goes down, the roaches are going home, but I still think that task was a success for Vandy.
Oh yes,
And
it
now
definitely.
I'm
I
talk
think
about
that was an
Xylo.
unmitigated success. I mean, he's at the point he just straight up killed the 3rd. There's an orbital command in the main base for Arvidon that's just sitting there, but he is instead remaking a command center at the 3rd. I think he should have just floated down at this moment because he's
does that
almost
all the
mined
time.
out. Yeah,
It's quite strange.
exactly.
Armadorn hasn't been mining gas on one of the gases in his natural for ages. It's at 2300 compared to the 1700 of the other gas, which is only being mined by 2 as well, so that gives an idea of how long this has been going on for. So he's so behind in his most critical resource compared to his opponent, who has tons of lava that he's spending on the roaches, now rushing into the natural.
Yeah, he's going after the tanks here on the high ground to try and make room for these roaches that are right in the middle of everything and also taking out their own tanks. They do get cleaned up, but they
Damn,
get
those
cleaned
Vikings.
up by the Vikings landing, and the Muta's right on top of them. There's not enough. They're going to get cleaned up, and I think we're going to see Armadon tap out right there. Yeah.
Wow. That was a great game.
Amazing control by Vandy.
Found ourselves on the final map of this best of 3 series. These two players have each taken a game off each other, and they're looking very strong. I honestly don't want to call this, but the player who I went into the series favouring, at least, is spawning in the top right in yellow. From Team Ascension, it's our Terran player,
Armadon.
And over on the top left-hand side, still remaining just that one evasive loss from the losers bracket, but hoping not to go there, is going to be our Teal Zerg player. It is Triple T's.
Vandy.
And he is going hatch first this time around as well. And
there is not to on Frost.
Yeah, exactly. It's you'd kind of
Nice
be silly
big
not
map.
to.
Nice big map, but his opponent is going to scout him straight away with that SCV. And in the first game, we saw that SCV attempt to put down some bunkers, so perhaps we could see a repeat of that this time around. He knows his hatch first. It's always hatch first with Vandy.
Yeah, and one change here out of Armadon is he hasn't gone for gas there, so he did not get the Reaper out. Instead, gets a Marine, which is going to go and potentially intercept. He is on the attack move. I think he's actually actively trying to intercept this Overlord, knowing the flight path that Zerg player usually uses.
Well, it's very smart, to be honest, but he's not quite getting it at top efficiency. And, you know, Vandy's seen where Terrans hide their barracks, and he's just going to put his Overlord up there now.
Yeah, definitely the Overlord will escape off to safety.
Just forcing a draw.
Yeah, exactly. It'll come down to that one Overlord winning the game. He's going to drop creep at the perfectly right time. And you'll see. The Marine's still like looking for it, being like, I know he came up here, but no.
You know, see, it's quite good actually because it's denying the scouting, and he's not going to get the Overlord kill, but he is going to successfully deny the scouting. And I'm wondering if Armador might go for the Pult Viking, where you open up with a Viking for anything else out of your starport, just to hunt down Overlords on the map.
We actually had, I wonder if this was a bit of he was actually going to hurt it because the Overlord did try and swing in to get some scouting done anyway. A reactor now going down on the barracks and factory right behind that. Already mining off 2 gases.
So he often gets this second gas, and I think that's because he likes to go for a Banshee play, or certainly it lends itself towards mech, and Banshees do count as mech, so you can just lump it all in that. But he often likes to go for the Cloak Banshees, and Frost is a good map for it, especially in close spawns, because you have that easy air access.
Yeah, that is for sure. This SCV, I think, is going to go down to these Lings as soon as they catch up with them again.
Well, are they going to catch up?
Oh no, they pulled off.
There's no speed.
For a second.
There's no speed.
Well, they do eventually get him, and he can't regen. Boop. Yeah, as long as you chase it, eventually you'll get there. But probes, I think, can out-regen it. But
they can't start healing fast enough. I don't think.
They're out.
Yeah. If you bring them home, you can get away with it sometimes. Yeah. That desperate probe race back across the map and just think, oh, come on.
Third base coming out for Vandy there. Bailing us going up, 2 Evos at the front, and speed on its way.
Getting that fast Baning Nest is uncharacteristic of Vandy, and I think we might be seeing a slightly more aggressive opening than we're used to seeing out of our Zerg player. He tends to put down a Roach Warren at this point in time and go for a slightly a defensive play towards the third base and the mid-game tech, but at this point, in this game, this is either going to be for aggression or it won't be, and that'll depend on what he scouts. He'll either be going for aggression if we see a fast third, or, as is more likely the case, a kind of defensive style to deal with this Hellion opening that is on its way across the map. But back at home for Armadorn, what we got here? What do we got here,
He's making an armory. He's got double port, 2-port Banshee with cloak.
Yep, seen this one before.
Yep.
I haven't seen this build not kill a Zerg yet.
No, it can be a hard one to deal with. He's once again hit this pretty brutal supply block at a very bad time. But where is he going to try and clear that up? He's got 2 supply depots coming on the way. The cloak will finish by the time Banshees can get across the map. Hellion's chasing these Lings across.
This kind of attack, if it's not scouted, can be absolutely crushing to deal with as a Zerg player. Spore Crawlers are a good start, but they aren't enough, because there will be Hellbats, and Spores don't do well against Hellbats, so they can kill those off, and then the Banshees can come in and get to work. Nice bailing connections, though.
Yeah, right in his face.
I'm waiting for the moment where, when he gets up to about 4 to 6 Banshees, he'll push in and start to do some real work at this point. Armadorn's attack is very, very strong, and he even has a 3rd base following this up. Hellbat's just roasting away at those Zerglings. They don't even care.
Yeah, Baneling's coming in here now, and so many it takes to just kill one Hellbat off.
They have such high health, and the splits
are even there to repair these, which is an interesting tactic as well. 2 Banshees still doing well. Some damage has been spread around them, but once again, SCVs are starting to repair the Banshees themselves.
Oh yeah, they can do that. Banshees are the slowest repairing thing.
It takes forever.
Officially, they are the slowest repairing thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, shooting down that 3rd base. Armadorn at this point can go home, and he's done what his push needed to do. There is an attack towards his natural, but SCVs are off the line. Hellions are on the other side, and even without Blue Flame, they're going to be able to hold very effectively.
Yeah, and 4 Banshees do all remain alive, which is still a very formidable fighting force there. The Spire gets scanned. It is about halfway done. Yeah.
The drones are attacking here for some reason, and a load of drones just got killed off.
And this gang of SCVs, the most aggressive SCVs ever.
Well, you say that, but actually I have seen many more aggressive SCVs than that.
True.
Usually hurtling towards my Nexus at about 10 minutes, and I'm just going, no, why? I just wanted some macro.
I think these Hellbats are going to try the big swing around back towards this 3rd base after they check to see if there was a hidden 4th down there. Of course, there is not.
Yeah. He's just making sure he's being very, very safe and making sure his opponent is in the position he thinks he's in. So Armadorn's now fairly clued up as to what the state Vandy's in. He knows that Vandy doesn't have any little tricks up his sleeve, and if he scans the main or just has the general idea of what's going on, he's gonna have a pretty good idea how to react. As it turns out, his reaction.
A lot of drones coming in. They're going to get roasted as they get too close here. The rally not fixed. Banes do detonate on all of this, and I don't know if he had to. He could have just pulled the drones off and let the mutalisks deal with.
I think he did because
or else he would have lost the hatchery. But
that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, as it is, the hatchery's on pretty low health, but that will heal. That will save itself up over time. The queens, if he makes a few more, will be able to transfuse it up to a reasonable health. But right now, it's the lava that he needs. He's desperately getting himself into the mid game in trying to get back onto an equal footing. And the one thing Vandy does have going for him is actually, even with the 7 drone losses in that slightly unwise drone-based attack versus Hellbats in the middle of the map, he does still have 60 workers to his opponent's 49.
Yeah, that indeed he does have. However, there are, just in terms of the heavy damage stuff, there's 8 Banshees on the map. There are Thors on the map. There's everything that makes for a very powerful army. And he's going to come with 2 Banshees to try and finish.
He might get it. I think he's going to get it.
Yeah, maybe.
The queen gets out, but it's not going to be fast enough.
Yeah. Yeah, not going to be able to take these down before the hatchery does fall, and it will go.
That's all he needed. Yeah, there's no energy left in these
Banshees. Will clear it up, but it's way too late.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you were talking about in the previous
Yeah.
game, where that wasn't necessarily a cost-effective trade, money for money, but it was absolutely in terms of strategic timings and tactical advance.
Yeah, exactly. You spend the cost of the banshees to then deny mining for another minute or two, and that's well worth it. No, nobody could ever say that's not worth it.
No.
These banshees do come across trying to get
Don't
kills.
come like
Oh my god. The Thors,
Oh,
man, Thors.
that
Do
hurt me
not,
in Zergy
do not,
places I didn't know I had.
do not try maneuvering around Thors.
No, just run.
No, just accept it. Let it happen. And so Blue Flame Hellions here is clearing up the creep.
It's really, really good. Armadorn's looking much more dominant in this game than he did in the
S-
previous.
Once again, a big group of SCVs with auto repair coming out to support these Thors, support the Banshee, support the Hellbats. You could throw so much stuff at this and do literally no damage with these SCVs there to
Right.
repair.
It's incredibly
magic.
challenging.
Yeah.
There's nothing that is a... Actually, you know what might be a good answer to this? Just maybe Roach Hydra.
I could see that. I mean, yeah, Hydra's
Yeah.
definitely good. They can
And
plow
actually,
through
decent
this
roaches
sort
in
of
production.
Yeah, the roaches definitely are there, but yeah, the Hydra kind of missing. Banelings 12 are being brought in.
Roach Bane
I
could
mean,
be a
they
struggle,
can
and
at least take out the SCVs, but
big old Overlord flock too, just drifting.
well, that
And
ain't good.
without the pneumatized carapace, that is considered very advisable to get very early on these days, just because of Widow Mines.
Yeah.
The Overlords aren't getting out of there. So many going down there to those Thor volleys, just again and again and again.
Yeah, Banelings coming in. Actually, pretty good connections as they were kind of clumped up there. The Banshee's getting a little far ahead of the Thors, but then the Thors melting mutas as they come in at a horrible angle. Roaches coming in, but Thors now prioritize the air, so they will ignore the roaches without even micro.
It's absolutely true, and it's very, very. It's a good change, I think, in general. But right now does mean that it's not working out so well for Vandy at this moment, losing that third base for the third time.
Yeah, and I mean he's already so far on the back foot that I just don't see anything stopping
It's going to be
this.
a real struggle for Vandy to get back into this. Flying those Mutalisks into the Thors, trying to Magic Box, trying to micro back. But Thors have range 10 on their air attack.
Pulling all these drones for some reason.
God.
Yeah, I think he just has to say, I have to just go and do something. But
That's all he has. That's it. That is it. Armador takes the first series.